7 o'clock in the morning, Carmarthenshire, Carmel Woods, next to the Turlough Lake. Very interesting story here about the Turlough Lake. It is only one of two in Europe, and we'll have a little look at the lake now. But basically what happens with this Turlough Lake is it has the water table beneath the ground. You can imagine lots of caves under the ground on the limestone, caves under the surface of what we see here now, and as they fill with water, the surface water then will also fill up on the lake. But when the water table goes down in the drier weather and the water underground goes down, so does the lake, and eventually disappears, only to re-emerge when we have some heavy rain. So that's very interesting. Only two in Europe, and we've got it here near the village of Llanderbeer. And here we are at the lake, and you can see we've had quite a bit of rain recently. Even though over the last 3 days it's been a bit quieter, you can see it's receded a little bit with the on the far bank, and of course below my feet here. But you can see the centre of the lake there. The grass is growing, so obviously it's seeing a lot of the sun and the open air, because when we have less rain, obviously it's exposed and the grass grows. So here we are, start of a 2.5 mile, 2.25 mile walk up around the woods. I'm taking the back to front way really, because we were starting at the what some might say the end, because some bit start in the car park of the quarry, but I tend to start here, go up over the top of the quarry. We'll have a nice look at the view over the top in about quarter of an hour, and then you'll see a magnificent view across. But this is the start of the walk. And this is quite typical of how the route goes, all the way up until we get to some very steep steps. And here we have a pothole, only for the faint-hearted, but certainly not advisable if you don't know what you're doing. I certainly wouldn't be having to go down there. I don't like sort of confined spaces like that. But certainly this will take you to the cave structure underneath, which I mentioned, and as that fills with water at the surface, then when that sort of fills enough to start to leak onto the surface, obviously the lake then starts to fill. So that's a classic example where we have a connection directly now with the, as I say, the underworld, you know. Well, slightly out of puff, but we're at the top here, and yeah, certainly worth it. Particularly this time of morning. I often come here when the sun just comes up, you know, so I'll post 1 or 2 20-30 seconds of that in the coming weeks, you know. But I'm just about to go down. I'll take a few photographs, but think about this. What would this walk be like in the dark? That's part 2. Tune in once again for some amazing adventures. Here we are in the bowl of the quarry, which I believe was last worked in the late 1970s, early 1980s. I think there was some activity then, but it's now been taken over and officially a nature trail or a nature reserve. Finally, the car park most people arrive at the bottom and go up the opposite way to where I just came. So you can see the old rails going in there where they would have pulled out the limestone out of the quarry, and the bowl we just saw earlier. So a little bit of history peeping through there. I'll see you when it's dark. As Dylan Thomas said, night is black, crow black.